Ready?
Yeah. Hey you guys!
Hello.
We are here and wow, I feel like it's been, well no, actually it has been forever and part of that was intentional.
We're back. We want to do more sit-down videos, more
Chatty videos,
as well as, of course, the New York content, New York vlogs, and then also like
New York advice.
And recommendations and things like that. So I think y'all should be pretty excited. We want to try to be uploading a couple times a week.
We have content that we've already been working on this entire time, so we have stuff in the vault that we are ready to
share with you guys.
Yeah.
So with that being said, who are you? What's your thing?
Hi.
What's your deal?
My deal. Okay, great. Well, I am Aline. I am a stand-up comedian and writer in New York City, as well as a part-time barista.
My name is Michelle. We're obviously, as Aline mentioned, we're two sisters. We live and work in New York City, and I do social media marketing currently, and I also do some illustration on the side. It's something I really want to reprioritize and bring into the channel, is more like draw with me's, journal with me type videos. We're just here and we're queer, which is the topic of today's video, which we're very excited about. This video has been a long time coming. We sorted through your questions on Instagram months ago, and a lot of them were fantastic. And then some questions were not asked, which we think should have been. So we are thinking of making this a little bit of a series because we do talk quite a bit, so we're only going to be answering a handful of those questions, and then we're going to do this more often on the channel.
Yeah.
So don't fear.
Unless you're homophobic, then that's literally in the name, and also get out. There's the door. There's the door, bitch!
Not the video for you, bud, or the channel for you. Also, to clarify, what would you say is like your identity as a queer person? Like, what label feels the best to you currently?
Well, according to my Instagram bio, I am a chaotic bisexual. However, labels are there to serve you, not the other way around. And I am still figuring shit out because, you know, as I grow older and as I dismantle more of my internalized homophobia that is always kind of there, and also, what's it called? Compet. I sometimes wonder about my attraction towards men, but, you know,
it's tricky because we were literally trained and groomed as youths. I'm talking about we as a society. If you are brought up as a girl, you are just basically inundated with media and with just the idea that being desired by a man is like peak everything. It should be your main goal. It's just very difficult to know what is your true feeling.
What is you? What is the world?
It's really difficult to sift through.
If you think about any media depiction of a successful woman, there is not a single one that doesn't include some sort of like romance. Like, come on, we didn't have Moana when I was growing up. She was nowhere in sight.
Oh, 100%.
And then she fell in love and she had a successful business. Or sometimes if it's just you got mail, her business goes under, but she's got a boy.
She lost the business. Who needs Little Shop around the corner when Joe Fox is forever? Currently, I feel really comfortable as queer and most days as bi, but at the same time, like, I'm still just like, eh. I feel like if labels are making you more stressed and more confused and more frustrated, it's just like, then you don't need to do and identify and be whatever makes you most comfortable.
Also, like, who's gonna care if you, like, change your mind? Like, only assholes.
We talk about this all the time, but bisexuality is such a valid identity, and it is not a, stepping stone. It's absolutely its own complete identity. And just because we personally are going through this experience and this journey, I don't want that to take away anything from people who comfortably identify as bisexual. Yeah. That being said, do we want to just like hop right into it?
I think so.
So the first question is, when/how did you know you were queer?
Ooh, I don't even know. When did I know I was gay for sure? I don't know, I was wearing a purple wool hat, I was awkward in Victoria's Secret, and then I heard the word lesbian and something was like ring-a-ding-ding in my brain. It's so cliche to be like, well, I always kinda knew, right? Like, that's kind of the gag. I mean, how are you not gonna notice? But at the same time, that's me saying that in hindsight, because a lot of the time while I was experiencing a lot of what now I know to be like WLW attraction, at the time, I didn't know, because I just thought I really, really, really wanted to be somebody's friend, or I just thought they were super, super cool because they had lived in Germany and played volleyball. Well, I went through a homophobic period, and I went through the I'm the greatest ally in the world period.
I went through a homophobic period.
I was very, very, very young, but I remember being like, gay men, okay. Gay women,
thumbs down. It was such a thing, especially in like straight female spaces, straight cis female spaces, to be like petrified of lesbians.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
This is a lovely time to grow up.
I can cite 2 pieces of media. Bridget Jones's Diary, the sequel, and Pretty Little Liars, the pilot, where there was both women on women, romance, tension, kissing, and I remember just feeling it completely sick to my stomach. But it was also probably because I was like, I didn't know that was an option.
Yeah, truly. I also felt like petrified while witnessing the Bridget Jones Diaries.
We watched it together and we both like
storyline.
got so quiet. But then I became a very staunch ally, and then I think my inner dialogue was just like, good for everybody else, good for you, sir, good for you, ma'am. Not for me. The reason why I think in both of our how do you know that you were gay, it's so complicated and took so long, is that I truly didn't see bisexuality as a legitimate label
option.
Because no media representation, like even media representation like run by queer people, I mean the L word for instance is run rampant with biphobia, and like, but so is Friends and so is Sex and the City, like atrocious things are said about bi people. And so I also was just like, well, I'm not gay because I did get sweaty while watching How to Eat Fried Worms. So I'm in the clear.
Predominantly straight people might not understand that these very light, like casual jokes that are thrown in 90s sitcoms, like they affect queer people so intensely, because especially when you're a young person who doesn't have a lot of representation, this is where you're getting a lot of your information on relationships, on sexuality.
I'm not even sure bisexuality exists. I think it's just a layover on the way to Gay Town.
And then there are bisexuals, though some just say they're kidding themselves.
I saw these comments from Carrie and from Phoebe as like fact and as what society thought of bisexual people.
People are always talking about how like bisexuals are confused. I'm just like, seems like you guys are the ones confused.
You're confusing me.
And I'm spooked.
It's like I knew exactly what I was about until y'all started putting your own personal input. Bisexuality was not seen as like a valid option, so it was very easy to then say, but I am attracted to men because of this one time I got sweaty while watching this one specific boy band media, Jonas Brothers. Then that means 100% I'm straight, or even if I'm not straight, I'm just gonna continue seeing where this road of man takes.
Yeah, because also though you're just like, okay, the alternative seems a lot more challenging. It doesn't match like the literal Christmas card I have painted in my head of what my future nuclear family will look like. Yeah, so I think there was a lot of factors that made it kind of foggy.
Yes, foggy is the word.
Experience. Eventually, you kind of just gander that something is up. Like when I went to college, which is something that makes me sad about my college experience, is I feel like for so many people it was such a time of awakening.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I think that there was just still so much to unpack, and maybe the fact that I was like still living at home, I was going to college like down the street from where I went to high school. Like it really didn't feel like I was starting over. It was more of like an extension of my high school self. Even though there was this big group of like theater gays and theater lesbians that were like close friends, very cool, super funny. Also, all were like very talented. I remember being very aware of that. I desperately felt myself like being pulled towards them, like something inside of me is like, you know, like calls to like, to quote Shadow and Bone, or to quote Fun Home, that feeling of like, I know you. I just like continue to push it down. That's the thing that's just so sad. It's like so much of it is like, how did you know? I'm like, the self-hatred was a good indicator. Also, something that was ridiculous is that like half of all those lesbians had dropped out and changed schools by the next year, and so I think that
it didn't even allow you the opportunity to join that group.
Like I just spent that whole first year kind of hiding from most visibly queer women. My sophomore year of college, I did meet a girl that I was just like, That episode of Sex and the City really fucked with me. The one with Samantha and Maria. Samantha's just like, all you do is sit around, take baths, and talk about your feelings.
It truly is like propaganda to be straight.
That's exactly what it was, because I thought, no, it'd be super boring to date a girl. Like, I feel this attraction, but like, how unappealing.
Yeah.
Because of like,
Didn't really sell it.
yeah, exactly. I was like, but I don't want to take baths and talk about my feelings. As if that's like the experience.
only
But when
option.
that's the only thing that you see, it does just like do a fucking number on you.
All we ever do is talk.
So yeah, that's how you knew. We'll get into the experience of coming out in the next question, but how I knew, I had kind of a weird light bulb moment / intrusive thought when I was 13, where I was thinking about America's Next Top Model and how,
As you do.
and how all of the Michelles on that show are gay or queer. I had a thought pop into my head where I was like, what if I'm gay? I then proceeded to have like a Jimmy Neutron brain moment, like transition, where I then went back through my entire life experience and
More like that chick, so.
thought like that could make a lot of sense. As a young girl, I was absolutely like, I was never interested in boys. I was adamant about how dating was stupid and how I just didn't like anyone in our grade. When everyone would ask me like who I had a crush on, I would literally like do a gagging performance and say that they were like hideous beasts. And I was just a very sapphic child, I have to say. Up until the moment where I discovered the Jonas Brothers, I had absolutely no interest in boys, like whatsoever. Like genuinely, I would say that me and my female cousin were going to live in the woods and have bunk beds and eat hot dogs and french fries for every meal, and that was like my ideal time.
I was like, this is my fantasy.
I would get really uncomfortable when family members or close friends of mine would start telling me how they had like feelings for boys. It would make me super uncomfortable and feel sick. Having this Jimmy Neutron brain moment where all of these things made so much sense, but yet I was so enamored by the Jonas Brothers that I was like, I don't understand what's happening inside me right now. Ever since I was like 13, like that intrusive thought would not go away. So that was like a decade of what if, of like really intense anxiety. I had like a very, very uncomfortable time, especially in high school, I would say, and then like early college, with navigating accepting my identity and figuring out like what my feelings were, especially being confused by like still being interested in men. For example, I had a boyfriend like all through high school, and I at the time like thought I loved him and thought that if I was gay or queer or bi, I would have to break up with him, and I was just like, but I don't want to do that, so I don't understand what I'm feeling. And it was just so painful. And in college I learned to kind of accept that I was more fluid in my sexuality, and I accepted the label of not straight, and that really like helped calm me down and give me some freedom, and that felt really comfortable for a while and very liberating. But yeah, especially in high school, I was just constantly like, what if I'm gay, what if I'm gay? I literally would throw up out of anxiety because I just had so much internalized homophobia. Like my internalized homophobia was so bad. I wish that I could say that I was like the stereotypical like intense ally, but I, like Aline was, even just like the 2-ish, 3-ish years that we have in like, age difference.
Massive difference.
Huge difference in culture.
Generationally, you are a millennial, and technically I am a cusper, but technically I'm in the generation of like Gen Z on that border. And I think there is a massive difference to the upbringing in youth towards queerness and gayness and the othering to that degree. Like slurs were everywhere. Like that's the thing. Maybe it was different in other places, but also like we went from Chile to Montana, and both of those places, you know, we were in very rural
they don't love
communities.
the gays.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, I remember very like viscerally the experience of, we moved to the United States, I started in 8th grade, and it was the era of that's gay. Like that was just like the era.
Yeah, there was no Hillary Duff.
There was no.
When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off.
But yeah, I would say that Jimmy Neutron moment was my big light bulb moment. Ever since then, I had a feeling. Ever since then, I knew.
Yeah, I think that's what we'll put a pin in. That's kind of how we knew. It's more of like a gut feeling and then like a lot of repression. And I think that's what makes it complicated. I think if we were growing up now, it'd be a very different story.
We should add a funny version of that answer. For me, it's that I was disappointed by the actual Sebastian Hastings versus Amanda Bynes playing Sebastian Hastings.
I'm literally
and that I had a crush on Sebastian Hastings in She's the Man, but only when Amanda Bynes was playing him.
I do feel like I have a very similar attitude, but towards Tom Felton as Draco Malfoy versus the Draco Malfoy in a Harry Potter musical that is literally played by a woman.
Did someone say Draco Malfoy?
And I remember being like, I think she's so funny.
Like, why am I dripping in sweat?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I downloaded
Grinning
all
ear to
of
ear.
her clips and like made a compilation on my laptop with Movie Maker.
That's something straight women do.
My sophomore year of high school, having this thought of like, also, why are there so many beautiful women and not that many cute boys? When you figure out that's not a thought that everybody has, it's like...
The next question is, what was your coming out experience like, and how did you come out to each other?
Well, the coming out experience, you know, it's not like
it's not a big one moment.
Yeah, it's not a speech. It's not Love, Simon. I've never seen that film. Well, I think we really delayed the process because since we are both on some sort of spectrum, we're both queer, but we're both fluid in terms of our sexual attraction. When we eventually started to talk about what we are attracted to and started being more open with each other as we got older and being like, hey, person I've known all my life, you want to be friends? What are your deep dark secrets? We realized that we both found women sexually attractive.
Yeah.
Or femmes, because also you guys, like, we're talking sometimes in very classically like gendered terms and language, but that's just usually because that's how we understood gender at that time.
Right,
now,
exactly.
of course, we know that like it's all a spectrum and you can be whoever you want to be. It does not have to be like boy, girl.
No, 100%.
So in the car, I remember we were driving and we had both been listening to Guys We Fucked, I don't want to get demonetized, but Guys We Fucked, the podcast. And I remember we were talking about an episode of the podcast, another really good example of how media completely shapes your relationship with your sexuality.
That podcast made me settle on the fact that I could be attracted to women but still be straight.
Which is just like a little bit of an eyebrow raise as well, where you're just like, I don't even know if you guys are qualified to make those kinds of statements. I don't really listen to the podcast anymore, but I also think that it did help me unpack a lot of shit of like slut shaming notions.
And shame about being attracted to women, I think, as well.
Definitely.
That was very deep rooted. Anyway, we were talking about this podcast. We finally were in a place where I think we were both comfortable to be able to talk about being attracted to women.
With each other.
Because we did not talk about it very openly previously. How old did you think we were?
I was a senior in high school, and you must have been sophomore
That
college.
sounds about right, yeah. I feel like I didn't talk to you about it for a really long time because if I talked to you about it, it would become so much more real.
Yeah, no, I think it's true. We're so cute.
We both came to the conclusion, like I'm attracted to women. I'm sexually attracted to women, but like I don't think I would date a woman.
No, I don't think I would do
just sex.
But also, I think that we saw that affirmation of the other person also feeling that way of like, oh my god, I'm normal, but also this is straight.
Yes,
because
culture.
We are taught that being queer is the minority, is like the divergent of the two options or whatever. Even homophobic people say this now, that being straight is default settings.
Yeah.
So you are a variation.
Like
you're
so
the weird
rare,
one.
yeah.
You're rare. You're weird. People must have thought this when we both came out, being like,
how could they
one
both be
of
queer?
them has to be pretending
And
because
just
there's no
copying
way
the
that
other
both of them are bisexual. Like one of them should be a lesbian and one of them should be a bisexual, or one should be straight and one should be bisexual. I think we did that too. When we first talked to each other about that, we were just like, oh, thank God, that means we're both straight, completely like hetero experience and that we are having, because there's no way that both of us could be gay.
Well, I also think that you thought this of me. Looking back, I'm like, LOL, but I looked at Aline and I was just like, oh, Aline is just so straight.
That's hilarious.
And Aline thought the same for me.
I thought Michelle was homophobic.
I was. So much internalized homophobia.
I would be showing my mother like clips from Fun Home and being like, look what a moving
was
story, and
triggered.
Michelle would just leave the room.
I was triggered. It's weird because I remember that moment and feeling comfortable about like talking about like it's normal for straight women to want to have sex with women. I don't remember, like I remember when you had that crush on this person that you talked about when you like met this girl who like you really solidified like your
My light bulb.
identity.
Yeah.
You even went out on like one or two like very like casual date-ish.
Neither of us thought it was a date.
Obviously I remember that. When did we both say like I'm bi? Because I remember like vividly literally texting you while I was working at Harvest when I moved to New York, being just like, oh, I can't wait to go to lesbian bars together. Month 2 of living in New York.
Yeah.
Basically coming out to each other was just a whole roller coaster ride. Aline's experience coming out to me had more of a timeline and more structure because it was surrounding dating a couple people, and mine was just prolonged because it was more of the experience of being a single queer person and navigating that.
Which is tough. Like, by the
It
way, I
is.
think that it's a little bit harder since it feels more abstract because you can't literally look at a person and be like, you are a validation of my literal like identity.
For you, you had the experience of then telling people I'm dating this girl, and that was like an automatic like conversation starter and like way to come out without having to necessarily
that's how I came
disclose
out to
your
my
exact
parents,
identity. Whereas I didn't have that experience, and it had to just be like literally it was just like me and me. They're both scary and weird in their own ways, but
Yeah.
I came out to my mom first before this conversation with Aline. I was 19 and I was having a lot of anxiety, and I had just watched Connor Francis coming out video and I related too much with it.
I'm gay.
So I thought if I told my mom, it would make me feel less anxious, and she was very supportive, and it was all like a smooth like experience, but it didn't make me feel better. So I promptly went back into the closet and was in there.
It's impressive.
I would say until I was like about 23 years old. So moving to New York was just such a pivotal part of my coming out process.
You also went to business school in Montana.
I was surrounded by, to be frank, Republicans and homophobes. Second I moved to New York, we moved during the summer, it was Pride Month, like it was just such a liberating feeling where all of a sudden I felt comfortable even just like switching my dating preferences to everyone instead of just men. That also was like a huge part of just coming out to myself. So that basically, like moving to New York was when I fully came out to myself and then started slowly coming out to friends and family. That's that. Very long story, and you're always coming out as a queer person. And you also don't have to come out.
If you're in an unsafe environment, keep that to yourself, buddy.
Oh, 100%. And
Yeah.
for me, I needed that extra time. Like, I needed the extra time to literally, like, be in my, cocoon and then emerge as the butterfly I am.
Yeah. There are variations of my coming out where I wasn't comfortable yet, and I was also saying stuff aloud, and like sometimes I wonder about that because even back home I think that I presented an idea that I was more comfortable with myself than I actually was.
And
I
it
thought
was
that-
easier for you than it
yeah,
actually
and
was.
I think that was the thing. I had like several friends tell me that it was like my coming out experience was so easy.
It's really difficult, but like honestly, when we came out online, it felt like literal Christmas Day. It was like the happiest feeling in the entire world.
It felt like $1 million
It felt
cash.
so good. By that point, I was just so comfortable with myself. Thank you, TikTok, for
Yeah,
that.
thank you, TikTok. And that's on media representation.
It was when I first started feeling happy and excited to be queer.
Maybe, and here's a thought, and maybe that's because TikTok is directly queer people creating queer content rather than straight people writing queer characters.
That's
because
such a good point.
there's always some falsity, some inauthenticity.
Because you know, as a queer person, you know who has queer energy and you know who doesn't, and you know what's authentic. Like, even when you don't think you know, you do.
Anyway, that's what we gotta say on that.
We should probably wrap
We
it
need
up.
to
We've
go.
been having a tangent for a
Yeah,
really long
oh my
time.
god.
Anyway,
we had a blast.
We had a great time with y'all and our coffees.
We meant to film this for like 30 minutes and we've been sat here for like an hour and a half. Hopefully we can learn how to be more concise.
If you have any questions you want us to add to the pot for Queer Anays, we've given you plenty of heterosexual content for 10 years. The tides are turning. So if you want to add questions for the future Queer Anays, we will be doing these, like what, we want to do them monthly? Or bi-monthly? Also just as a disclaimer, this video is purely our points of view since it is our channel, and I'm sure so many people have different experiences. And we're not the poster children for queerness.
No.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram to keep up with our daily shenanigans, and we'll see you in the next video. Also subscribe if you haven't already.
Alright, goodbye.
Bye.
Cheers.